regular meeting of the Beavercreek Township Trustees of March 14th, 2016. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have an agenda before us. Do we have any additions, modifications, deletions?
Yes, under the executive session, I'd also like to add 121.22G3, conferences with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action.
Okay, so we have 1, 3, 4, and 5 is what we can do. And you have the word.
I've got it.
Okay. Seeing none others, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Are we leaving the executive sessions at the end, or should we?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes. Motion to approve the payroll?
Make a motion to approve the March 16th, 2016 payroll in amount of $270,858.64.
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $92,079.97.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes. We now open the meeting to anyone who'd like to speak, but I do not see any non-participants in the audience. So we will go to old business. Mrs. Zaharia.
Thank you, Board. In your packet on page 44 is the investment policy with the updated changes. I do have a copy here for you to sign as well.
Okay, is that the?
And only the change that's shown in red line. I mean, that was it, correct?
That's it, except
Okay.
for the only other changes that probably didn't show up as a change would, well, it did show up as a change.
The year.
Dates, yeah.
Right, the year.
Yep.
Was in blue.
Said 44.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not going all the way down there. So I did read it, and it was just,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
deleted the piece of the.
Yeah, no motions required because you did pass a motion at the last meeting. This is just a
Okay.
clean copy of it for signatures.
Great.
Okay, do we have any people interested yet?
Well, from what I understand, the Board was going to solicit names.
Okay, so I guess we're still soliciting.
I've got two that are interested, but they want to talk to you, or essentially to get more. They wanted this policy ultimately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have one I was.
And I told them to call you to get the old policy, because the new policy, there was only one little sentence that was
Right.
changing, so I don't know if they haven't reached out to you yet. Then
Not yet.
Okay.
Do we have a
Reach
form
out
to
again.
fill out? For people who are interested, the way we have for the other boards?
No, but I could put one together real quick.
I don't know if it's necessary, but if, you know,
Yeah.
you can have a variety, then to have some form.
It did run on Beavercreek's Finest and also on the Buzz. I don't know if we have it on our website. Did we posted anything up to that? Okay. We might go ahead and post that, and if you just post the policy, then
They can look and see.
they can download it themselves, I
Sure.
guess.
Very good, so we will put that off for another couple of weeks. I don't see any new business in front of us. This is a hurry-up, local government, safety.
Is this the emergency purchase?
It was a
Thank
90,
you, Board.
there was one that we signed.
Right. I
90.
was asking what was that? That was the one for 61?
Yeah, the water
The
heater.
water heater?
Water heater?
Yeah,
Okay.
is it 9770?
Thank you, Board. On page 14 is the, some information on the local government safety capital grant program guidelines. It is our intent to go after, solicit funding for a CERT/auxiliary vehicle. This would be a joint grant between Greene County, essentially Greene County EMA, who oversees the entire CERT program for the excuse me, for the county, and then with Beavercreek Township. provided some grant information there if you have any questions on that. As a part of the grant, because it's multiple jurisdictions, you could get up to $500,000 with multiple jurisdictions involved in the grant. So in this case, with the county being involved, it would be 100,000, and then the township would be 100,000, and then the local match. The local match that you see in the MOU is from the sale of the tactical unit on Gov Deals, which is was just under that 30,000, but we gave it a clean, even number in regards to a local match, and we get more points for having a local match in regards to the application. Clark State, being home here in Beavercreek Township, and the city of Beavercreek is offered to, at no cost, to help us write this grant, and they are, as we speak, putting the grant application together. If the township trustees sign the MOU or give me the authorization to sign the MOU, county commissioners will be signing it tomorrow, and then it will be a part of the grant.
And it will be housed here, used by our auxiliary insert unit.
That's correct. It would be available for deployable in Beavercreek Township or the city of Beavercreek through the fire department. It would be deployable to county emergencies, state declarations, so it could go outside of the Greene County area, but the only time it will go outside the Greene County area is if there's a state declaration of an emergency. So, for example, if a tornado would hit one of our northern counties just north of us, they requested a CERT team, it could get deployed up there. And then once it's deployed, it doesn't fall under Beavercreek Township, it actually falls under the state or that county that's making that request in regards to the deployment. And then if it's a state declaration, reimbursements, workman's comp, everything is under the state resource in regards to deployments.
So as far as insurance, fuel, repairs, and maintenance on the vehicle,
That would be the township.
be through the auxiliary or through the township?
Through the township,
Okay.
yeah.
And then as far as driver requirements then, so is there a chance that it would be deployed without the auxiliary attached to it?
No. It's,
Okay, so the auxiliary would always be the driver of the
That's correct.
vehicle? It wouldn't
So
be
there-
a county organization borrowing it?
no.
Okay.
If it gets deployed to another jurisdiction, let's say Xenia for a disaster, we would have our people on there operating the piece of equipment, much like we do with mutual aid now.
Okay.
And then they would be reimbursing.
If it's a county declaration and there needed to be reimbursement like fuel and things like that, that could come through
Okay.
the county.
But generally, our mutual aid of that sort, we just go.
Yeah, the mutual aid,
It has to
there's
be
no.
some
Give and a take.
long-term.
If it were an extended, 2 or 3 week deployment, I think.
This would be a state declaration or a county declaration. It would respond here locally for emergencies. For example, our residential fires where the auxiliary, it would be deployed
A
for
regular
that.
example.
For some of our large-scale exercises that we do, like active shooter, it would be deployed for that. It was deployed during some of the bomb scares at the high school to help assist crews on scene for long-term deployment. So it would be deployed through the township at that point.
And in simple terms, it's tethered to auxiliary. So if auxiliary goes, it goes with
That's correct.
auxiliary.
So
okay.
it has kind of a dual role. If it's an auxiliary asset, it will respond as an auxiliary. If it's called as a CERT team for, let's say, a lost person, it would be under that umbrella,
Okay.
CERT. But CERT within the township is under the auxiliary.
Okay.
Would we ever have an instance where the auxiliary would go like, say, to, God forbid, another 9/11 or anything? Would that be?
That's through our other,
Well, the last time they asked for volunteers through the CERT program that I'm aware of was the hurricanes in Katrina and New Orleans. And that was individuals. They were asking individuals to volunteer to work in the FEMA tents to help with paperwork and things like that. We would not be deploying a vehicle for that. That was
Okay.
more of an individual. But if in a large-scale exercise in the state of Ohio, we had, unfortunately, an incident like that, it could be deployed here in the state of Ohio as a resource and an asset.
And then on the MOU, does this only kick in if we get this new vehicle?
That's correct.
Or is it whether we get it or not with the existing resources we have?
No, the MOU only kicks in if we get the vehicle. It's all tied to the vehicle.
Okay, that's how I read it. I just
yeah.
wanted to ask the
Yeah,
question.
and if we do get the vehicle, then it's essentially in place with no termination, except for the out clause that's in there in the 30 days.
Okay.
So,
And then do you need a motion?
yeah, I'll need a motion to authorize the township administrator to sign the MOU.
I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with Greene County and Beavercreek Township as presented, and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes.
Thank you, board. Next item's on page 21. There is an opening for...
Please extend our thank you to
Yes.
Clark State
Yes.
for writing that.
Yes.
I will.
Thank you.
And for the county to want to participate with
Yes.
us.
I will pass it on. Thank you. Page 21, there is an opening for a trustee representative or township representative for the Ohio Public Works Commission, District 11. We have talked about several projects that potentially could be coming forward from the township, and I recommend that we nominate one of our own, Ed Amrine, to serve on that committee. He's also reaching out to some of the other townships if the board moves forward with it today to solicit support, and if the board moves forward with it today, I'm going to ask the city of Beaver Creek also to endorse it.
Do they, whoever is appointing the representative, do they try to get representatives from each of the counties involved? That was my concern as I read through. Because District 11 is for 8 counties: Champaign, Clark, Dark, Greene, Madison, Miami, Preble, and Union. Do they try to have the representatives be from a variety of the jurisdictions?
I don't think it's a requirement to do that, and that's why I think they sent it out to everybody. I think what the bylaws say
Okay.
is that the townships within these jurisdictions get a certain amount of reps. I would assume that the committee would look at potentially spreading that out amongst the counties, but I don't think that's a requirement.
Okay, yeah. I think that's a good choice for a nominee. We have a motion to approve.
Sure, I'll make a motion that we approve the following resolution, whereas the Ohio Revised Code Section 164.046 in regards to the Ohio Public Works Commission, District 11, integrating committee requires 3 members shall be appointed by the majority of the Board of Township Trustees located within the district, and whereas the District 11 Integrating Committee appointed members oversee the Ohio Public Works Infrastructure Program for the district's 8 counties, including Champaign, Clark, Dark, Greene, Madison, Miami, Preble, and Union. And whereas the 24-member committee will have 3 representatives from townships within District 11, we would propose to have Ed Amrine represent the township.
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Beavercreek Township, Greene County hereby nominate Ed Amrine of Beavercreek Township to serve as the township representative on the District 11 Integrating Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Amrine.
Thanks, Ed.
Ms.
How
Harris, we'll
many
have to-
committees are you on
Once we
now?
get the signatures and copies, I'll have to send that to
How many committees are you on now?
copy of the resolution.
A lot
All
of
of
them.
them.
I can't hear what you're saying, but okay.
I don't know.
When in doubt, send it.
I was just asking how many committees. We're stretching him pretty thin,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't know if you have a family life anymore, so, just to make sure.
Yeah, well, the health department's just the one meeting tomorrow night, so that's dinner, so that's not such a bad.
Always room for one more.
And Alex, I'm sorry if you can repeat what you were saying.
Yes,
I was talking
once
over you.
we get signatures, I'll need a copy so I can send it to the committee, the actual
Okay.
resolution, copy of the resolution.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
My apologies.
Not
Not a problem.
You were right.
Thank you, board. Next item is the biweekly report for the sheriff's office. Starts on page 23.
Right, they send out all this.
And if there are no questions,
Is the sheriff office point out any trend that we need to be aware of or that needs to be addressed in a different way?
not in this biweekly report, but I have asked them to take a look at the statistics before they speak on April 25th.
Okay.
As a pre-scheduled speaker and discuss some of the things that we're seeing here locally as well as the region, and then to discuss the call volume in Beavercreek Township in the
Okay.
unincorporated area.
Okay. Great, thank you.
We did get the summary, which I prefer, but then I was looking up for house checks, of which they seem to have a whole list of them, but I don't see house checks as one of the summary categories. But
I'll check.
not
with
that
them.
is, no.
Oh, you mean on the
important.
monthly report?
Oh, wait. Now
thought
I
it
see
was.
it. Here
It's
it is,
there.
148.
Okay.
Okay, it's snuck in between there.
Yeah, so on page 32 starts the monthly report, and at
Yeah.
the end of the report, you'll have 3 pages of summary
Yeah.
from January and February.
Yeah, which is excellent. I like the summary. It gives us a very good feel for where they are doing whatever it is they're doing. Thank you. Seeing no questions, finance bi-weekly report.
Thank you, Board. On page 52 begins the biweekly report for the Finance Department.
All the bills got paid and the payroll's gonna be paid on Wednesday, so I guess that's okay. Seeing no questions, human resources.
Thank you, Board. And on page 54 begins the HR biweekly report.
Cast.
Ms. Gustafson is handing out a summary of what the Board asked for last week. They didn't make the packet. Ms. Gustafson has been in training, and as well as Xenia Township last week.
Okay, and how many bills have gone out? I know you had, I think one had gone out before, and this would be,
3 or 4, I believe.
okay.
I haven't billed for this month yet. I'm waiting to see if we finish up.
Okay, so this is through February or through January?
End of February.
End of February.
We have one date scheduled. I'm not optimistic that we'll finish that day, so I'm guessing we might have 2 or 3 more sessions. We're getting there though. It's dwindling down.
Okay, any questions from Ms. Gustafson?
So we've, you or your department, you've sent them bills and they have paid what we've invoiced them or not yet?
No, they've been invoiced. We've received checks.
Okay.
I'm not sure how many checks. I can check with Jen.
Yeah, there were a couple. I know that the problem we ran into is that some of you billed for 2015. Obviously, we couldn't go back, and when we get the money in 2016, can't reduce the expenditure in 2015. So your salary at the end of the year will look inflated because it'll have this extra. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Is it just a timing?
it's a timing thing.
It'll be
so.
understated for 16 and overstated for 15, essentially.
Right,
But it
because
won't-
these
16
these
will be-
amounts should be
16.
reduced
16 will
from
look
her.
lower than it should have.
Right. It would normally be reduced from her expenditure line. So, I mean, that's all I know.
So,
So this
okay.
is what you've submitted to Xenia Township and they haven't paid yet? Or when did you submit this?
This
This
is
is
the
the,
total.
this is the total.
This is total. Okay.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank
That I
you.
of hours worked, so this includes March,
It
which
do-
I have not billed for March.
But
We
this
do have
includes,
copies of the actual statements in your office.
but this includes March.
Correct.
Okay, I want to make sure I was writing the wrong thing. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions on her bi-weekly report? Any things we should be aware of? That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. On page 56 begins the zoning department's biweekly report. As you can see, we continue to see a lot of activity in regards to growth in the unincorporated area of the town.
I understood that this is through March, but she didn't.
Has
bill through
construction
March.
started? I don't go out there. Are they in the process of building at this point?
We had a quick question.
I had a quick question. Did you say the billing was complete, with this number was reflective of through February or through March?
This includes the total hours worked
Through
through today.
Okay,
today.
Through today, but she's
I
only
have-
But
billed
not
through
billed.
February.
but the dollars is only through February.
No,
Got it.
no, these, no, this is
Total hours
total
worked.
dollars owed.
Christie has the bills
Okay.
for everything that's been billed through February.
Got it. That's the total amount of work we've done and is billable. We have not, we may not have billed all of that yet.
Correct.
And we haven't collected all of it because we haven't billed it all.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct. And you've
And we
got 2,
received it
3
in the
more
wrong year.
meetings that's gonna
But
be
I
added
didn't
to
know
it.
Jim was-
Is, or, potentially more, it just depends on when.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So is Jim sending the bill or are you sending the bill?
I have sent the bill,
You have sent the bill, we are waiting for the money. For February.
but I don't know, he may have the money for February, he doesn't usually tell me when the checks come in.
Okay. Sorry, back on yours, Alex.
That's okay.
In regards to growth, Ms. Graff, can you repeat your question?
Since we are having a sort of unusual winter, spring, has construction started on many of these 24 single-family dwellings that have taken out?
Construction has begun on all of them,
Okay,
and construction equipment will be mobilized within the next week on the 2 new subdivisions that will be started this year, Nathaniel's Grove and River Reserve. The first sections of both of those subdivisions have been through the final approval process at the county level, and mobilization of equipment will begin shortly.
and they're gonna start on the north end of Nathaniel's Grove, closer to Kemp Road?
Yes. Adjacent to the northern of the 2 property owners, with, that
That
will be
gets surrounded by the-
eventually surrounded by Nathaniel's Grove. It'll be just adjacent to there.
Okay. Any further questions for Mr. Almrine?
No, where are we at as compared to last year at this time?
It's in your,
Is
I-
is that in there?
Yeah,
Because the
we're-
numbers
Miss it.
are still small for the year, I didn't look at it that way as much as I looked at when did we achieve the same numbers last year, so
May
the
1st.
24th
May
home
1st.
permit was issued on May
Okay.
1st last year. Last year, May 1st was a big day. We issued 10 or 12 single-family dwelling permits in one day. So there will be some tightening of the margin by which we're ahead of last year. But partly because the weather was mild this winter, construction seemed to continue throughout the winter, and that's why we got quite a jump on the construction season. So, but I think we're gonna see, if we look at we have 3 applications in hand. Let's say we finish the month conservatively with 30. That puts us on track for 120 new homes for the year.
If we do the same as, okay.
And we had compared to 97 last year, so it's about what we anticipated in the annual report.
has Wood Ridge stalled out, or is it continuing to gain steam?
It's-
You know, a lot of the original lots were sold to builders.
Spring Ridge is.
I'm sorry, Wood Ridge.
Woodridge.
Wood Ridge.
Oh, Woodridge, I'm sorry, I'm gonna get a hearing aid, I promise. Woodridge is, it's all recorded now, and there are 4 homes under construction and a 5th permit coming in next week.
Okay. I know they had a good chunk of lots that were sold, but they were sold to builders that were hoping for
Right.
Homerama, so I
Right.
didn't know if.
Right, no, they're not all under construction, these are builders that build one at a time.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, Board. On page 60 begins the IT biweekly report. Are there any questions?
None for me.
None, me, and
Yeah,
Thank you, Board. First item on the road department agenda is contract renewal and purchase request for Buckeye Power Sales. The purchase justification starts on page 63, as well as the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase request 0364 to Buckeye Power Sales for annual preventive maintenance for station standby generators in the amount of $3,198.50, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is a purchase request for the Cummings Bridgeway filter, and that starts on page 63, number 2 on the purchase justification. And the motion's on page 64.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I'll make a motion to approve the purchase request 00365 to Bridgeway Cummins for a diesel particulate filter in the amount of $2,740.80, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you for all the explanations beforehand. It makes the decision-making easier. Mrs. Zaharian?
Thank you, Board. Next item would be the Road Department's biweekly report. It starts on page 71.
Appeared you may have one less beaver dam on factory after the flooding this weekend. So they took one out. Someone did. So
Someone did, huh?
took out a beaver. Yeah. So unfortunate.
Is that what causes the flooding?
The dams.
Some of it does.
Some of it does. Yeah.
Okay.
It's usually what starts the problem.
Right. Contributing factor.
Any other questions for Mr. Parks?
Thank you, Board. On page 73 starts the Fire Department's agenda. First is to hire and request a special meeting for the hiring of firefighter. The Fire Chief will have any additional comments on that?
Good afternoon, Board. And actually, what I was just trying to verify with Ms. Gustafson is when our first candidate would be available to give us a time frame for when we should have the special meeting.
We will be done testing today, and we'll have the results by Wednesday, Thursday.
So kind of at the convenience of the Board after that, if there's a time next week, perhaps we could set a special meeting or the next regularly scheduled meeting. Obviously, the sooner the better, but it has been drawn out, so I'm not looking to rush you with your schedules either, so.
Is it one day be better than the other as far as the starting time with payroll?
We can make all of that work, I believe, with the finance director. The big thing is gonna be, if we could do it in the afternoon, obviously we prefer that.
Late afternoon
And
is what
then
you mean?
obviously the board's schedule so that, we can be
Okay.
there for it.
Okay, Mr. Kress, Mr. Roberts?
So you're looking at next week?
I could do it Monday next week or the following Monday at the regular meeting.
You can do it Monday. Can you do Monday afternoon, 4 o'clock?
Is Monday enough time to have everything
Yeah, either one of those Mondays would be good.
ready or not?
Should we accept that?
After the next regular meeting might be,
Well, we might have another one after that, because how many people are you down?
Might be
We're
easier
down
just to do it
one
at the
person
regular meeting.
currently. At the 28th, we may or may not be down a second person depending on the
Okay, so
process.
the sooner we can get someone on, the better off their staffing.
So if you're
Okay.
available on the 21st and willing, that would be great. We appreciate
For you.
it.
I have no
We're
idea,
talking about the
honestly.
afternoon, right?
Yes.
I'll
4
check.
o'clock.
You
Afternoon,
guys do
4
what you want.
o'clock.
It's fine.
4 o'clock?
That's fine.
Thank you, Board. I appreciate that.
On the 21st, right?
And then we will have final word on the 28th, obviously, for Mr. Blanton and his progress. And if he is not successful in completing his process, I believe we have a second candidate that will be possible at that point. So
Okay.
Okay,
we should be able to take action on the 28th one way or the other.
good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Board. Next item on the agenda is a purchase request for the thermal imaging camera upgrades. As you recall, we did something very similar to this last year. The upgrade justification starts on page 73 under section 2 of the Chief's report.
I'll make a motion to approve the following purchase request, 08058 to ISG Infosys for upgrade of 2 thermal imaging cameras in the amount of $10,050, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Has
Mr.
the upgrading that was done last year been satisfactory? I'm assuming it is if you're going ahead to do 2 more.
Yes, ma'am, it has.
Okay,
It's,
brought them up to the standards that we wanted.
Absolutely, and it has increased the lifespan, working life cycle of that piece, or those 2 pieces of equipment that were previously upgraded, so that's a huge benefit to us as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
You can call the roll.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is a purchase request of the Lucas CPR device. We had some discussion about this in the budget hearings as well. You might have seen some things in the paper, some other departments that have purchases. We have brought a demonstration today for you to take a look at. We have Firefighter Ferguson here, and
This is Linda Gleaves of Physio Control, and she's going to give us a quick demo if the board would like to see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's all yours.
Members of the board, appreciate your time today. I'm very quickly going to show you the Lucas device. Basically, the EMS providers do a great job of doing CPR, but even if it's a short distance, as they start to get tired, that CPR isn't as great as it should be. And then they're not taking their hands off the chest like they should, and then the heart's not refilling like it should. So clinically, as CPR deteriorates, not as great for the patient. There's also some concern about the safety for the crews. If you have a device that's doing the CPR, they don't need to be in the back of the ambulance trying to do CPR. They can be in a more appropriate position. So because of the clinical advantages and the safety for the crew, mechanical CPR has become very, very popular. The device is very simple to use. It takes anywhere for 10 to 20 seconds to set up initially, although Anchorage, Alaska just published that they've got it down to 7 seconds, which is pretty darn quick. The device itself is carried in this backpack, so they can put it like a backpack, sling it over shoulder, several different ways to carry it. For training purposes at A, B, C, D, E, so I'm gonna go ahead and open this up, and then I'm gonna push the on button. So that's A, activate. B, they would log roll or pull the patient straight up to go ahead and put the board underneath them. C is the compressor, so we go ahead and take this out, and then it attaches on either side. And then, as you can see, it is piston driven, so it's very much so in the same type of position that a person would be doing. So now I've done C, compressor. I'm gonna turn this around so you can see a little bit better. D for depth, I'm gonna push this down at the appropriate spot. I'm gonna lock my piston, and now clinically I'm setting this to do 30 to 2, so 30 compressions, and then you're supposed to stop and do 2 seconds of ventilation. So this actually will coach the user to do so. So I'll just quickly let that cycle through for you. So ventilate, ventilate, and then it'll go ahead and start up again. There is also a continuous, because once they've got their airways established, they sometimes don't need to do the ventilations, so this is set up to be able to do that as well. The whole thing runs off of a battery that's good for 45 minutes. If that battery does go low, it's very easy to change. This comes out. There's a spare in case they pop that back in. They go ahead and push go. So it's a minimum of interruption of CPR. There's also a power outlet, so they can plug it in. Most often when you get to the hospital, they're thrilled to see something being able to do perfect CPR. So they often say, gee, can you go write your run report while we use this? So it's nice to be able to plug that in to keep the battery topped off, so they're still in good shape when they are ready to get back into service.
The
And that is
backboard, are there
basic-
different size backboards?
No, this is the standard size. This fits a chest width of 17.7, which is the largest in the industry. Interestingly enough, this was actually manufactured originally by a company in Sweden called Life. We purchased the company several years ago, and sadly to say, this But our studies show that it does fit 95% of the patient population. If it doesn't fit, person has to do CPR. The nice thing about that is, as far as the size is concerned, I always tell people, you put the patient on, and then go ahead and flip it over. If there's too much girth and it won't clip, they're too big. If you have someone that's very small, and I push this down, let's say I've got a person that's there, that person's too small. So it's very easy to size. What other questions do you have?
I don't wanna-
From a legal perspective, just from a liability standpoint, what does this change, add to, eliminate?
From a purely legal standpoint, it really doesn't change anything in terms of adding the additional liability. For the most part, the EMS has immunity anyways, and quite frankly, if it is clinically a better way to do this, it probably decreases the liability somewhat.
And we will have one of these in each of our medic units.
We're actually discussing whether it should be deployed in the medics or in the engines. The discussion revolves around the fact that the medic units are primarily transport, whereas the engines, because we have more engine staff per day typically than medics, are the first responders. And so, and in the case where both an engine and medic from the same station are arriving, they arrive generally simultaneously. So we'll work that detail out, but it will be in either one or the other. It will be available for each medic transport. But that's one of the minor details we're working out right now. And we may change it. We'll trial it. And if it's not working the way we expect, we would obviously have the option to switch that. The other thing I'll point out is, Ms. Cleaves already mentioned safety in the clinical aspect. For us, it's a bit of a force multiplier. So CPR being as physically demanding as it is, it usually takes an extra person or two on a transport to facilitate CPR. And with our reduced staffing, if we can take that physical activity out and replace it with the device, it allows our personnel to do more of the interactive things, drug therapy, electric therapy, airway maintenance, patient history and information gathering, that sort of thing.
In basketball terms, this is your sixth man
Yes,
or
yes, sir.
woman?
Yes.
Okay, and how many, I think, is it 4?
Yes, ma'am. 4.
Okay.
Is there, and I'm confident they've over-engineered it, but is there, I don't think most people are used to seeing how deep you compress to do CPR correctly.
Yes.
I wasn't before, about a year ago. And so, is there an overstroke compensation in that thing so you don't break ribs?
The way the device works is, to answer your question shortly, no. The way this device works is once you push this down, watch what happens when I lock the piston. See how it eased on down?
Mhm.
It found the chest wall,
Mhm.
and then it knows from that point to do the 2.1 inches of depth. So it does self-adjust for each patient. And then conversely, if you had a larger patient and you started right there and locked it, then it, it would know how to go from there. So there's no way to appropriately.
So is the patient fully restrained with this device on them? Or what if they,
Oh, they
This would
lock
be in
down on the
combination
green? What if-
with backboard or cot or some other, because we need to move the patient. The most common way we move a patient in cardiac arrest is on a backboard because the ability to handle them as a single unit. And so yes, they would be attached to the backboard along with this device.
The hands.
so is that the backboard or is that attached to our
So
backboard?
That's
This
gonna
is-
be between them and our backboard,
That's
correct?
correct.
Okay.
And a lot of people use backboards, a lot of people are also using tarps or sheets or paper
Mhm.
movers as well. And then, as you mentioned, a lot of people in the EMS profession like that you can actually put their arms up there, because when you're going down flights of steps, their arms are always
Right.
doing this and hitting. So,
That's why I was asking
really like that,
if they're
because
restrained.
that kind of keeps them a little bit more
Right.
contained and less chance of them kind of getting bumped up along.
Right.
the
On
Is
a
that what
larger-
the straps are for?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
as the patient, their arms.
What about the ones on the,
So there is a neck stabilization strap, so when you go to transport them, you can go ahead and simply flip on both sides, and that's just
But-
provides a little additional support for them.
This doesn't prevent or require a C-collar? I mean, that doesn't change anything there.
The device itself does not, the protocol for what is occurring with the patient might.
Right.
Yeah, if the patient's intubated, part of the protocol is to make sure that they continue to maintain that intubation, so a collar is recommended. If it's due to trauma or fall, then a collar is also recommended in another section of the protocol.
But this doesn't restrict the
No.
use of that.
The other nice thing is there's plenty of room on the
Or
chest,
require it.
should you need to defibrillate, the
Yeah.
defibrillation pads are able to be applied quickly and easily
Yeah.
for immediate
So
defibrillation.
you would have the pads on there for shocking the patient as well, and that doesn't interfere with it as well. The yellow portion there is essentially, because we use backwards, the reason we use backwards in all our cardiac arrests is because it's recommended that you have hard surface. So if you're doing CPR on a bed, you're doing CPR on the bed.
To the
for
bed, yeah,
it's
to
not
the
for
bed.
patient.
Right.
So they always recommended a hard surface. This provides a hard surface, so that's what that yellow section is. So we will probably have another backboard to assist us with taking the patient down either steps or onto our, lifting the patient from one area to another, to the cot.
Is there any kind of safety mechanism in there? What if they're unconscious and they gain conscious and they turn?
Or they fight it.
They turn sideways all of a sudden now. They're instead of flat, they're up and down.
Okay, so I guess, not quite sure I understand. So if you're just saying they became alert
They
oriented.
came alert and they started to shift.
And you were in the middle of doing this, then you pause.
And you can always unhook it if you need to rotate the patient for any reason.
Well, but if they turn, is it still gonna be forcibly
When you
to
say
that same
turn,
depth?
I mean, the
They fight to
pressure
get
from
out.
this makes it
Yeah.
pretty
Pretty
The
hard.
patient, if they're also on a backboard, is gonna have straps on the backboard.
Okay.
So.
Is there any chance that, I don't know how big that cuff is for that to somehow come off and would the plunger act as a spear almost? I mean,
There's no way for that. It physically has to be peeled off, so
Mm-hmm.
there's no way in normal use.
It actually forms almost a suction.
It's like a suction.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, so, I mean, you'd have to,
and I would
Yeah,
assume,
I
and
do.
to speak to Mr. Krutz's point in engineering, I'm assuming you have done millions and millions and millions of compressions.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
The device has been available for 8 or 9 years now, so it's not brand new technology. Several of the communities surrounding you all have purchased Kettering, Bellbrook, Fairborn, Xenia Township.
What's the life of the battery?
Two ways to answer that, 45 minutes or 3 years, if you're talking shelf life.
Is it a lithium or?
It is a lithium polymer base.
They rechargeable?
Yes. Not only can you recharge it from that little power supply, but there's a standalone charger for charging it as well. The device is quoted, it includes pretty much everything you're seeing here, so the device, the battery, there's a spare battery, the power cord, charger, and then the carrying case. So that's, one complete unit.
And the life cycle estimates that I provided included not just the initial purchase, but the life cycle batteries, so replacing them every 3 years over a 10-year lifespan, as well as an estimated amount for the replaceable. The suction cup is the replaceable part for patient contact, and we had an estimated price in there over the 10 years for our number of cardiac arrests as well.
Now, how long has this device been out?
8 or 9 years.
And has there been any strides in technology updates with it in that last?
Yes, actually, this is Lucas 2. Lucas 1 was powered by an air tank, and probably about 5 or 6 years ago, we moved to the lithium battery. Recently, the American Heart for a long time said 100 compressions a minute at 2-inch depth. They recently changed to 100 plus and 2+ inches, so we also changed the process, so it does 102 compressions a minute, 2.1-inch depth.
And you change that with the Lucas too, or that's not something that you can dial into the?
That's something that can be changed as American Heart Association protocols.
So that device has the ability to go from 2 to whatever?
Yes.
Okay, so, and that's just a programming thing, there's no chance it could go from 2 to 3.5 inches on its own?
No. It's like program software that would have to be service revenue.
And then Lucas 3, is there a Lucas 3 in the future?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I
Have our
hope so.
people been trained on it? Have they tried it?
Not yet. Well, I think we
Demonstrated,
demoed it,
yeah.
right?
We've demoed it, once we have it, there'll be an in-service training for all folks so that they understand how to use it correctly.
Well, for those who did see the demo and participate, what were their,
Our
Okay.
reactions were this is a great product. As Chief was saying, force multiplying, if we can get this device to take care of what two of us were doing, that frees a lot of us up to be able to start taking care of a lot of other aspects of cardiac arrest. There's an awful lot of work to be done, and this would take care of freeing up a lot of hands.
One thing we know from a clinical standpoint is they were mentioning, you may have a couple people doing CPR. So they're doing CPR, then you switch, your hands come off and your buddy comes in. We know clinically that as soon as the person's hands come off, something called coronary perfusion pressure, which is kind of the blood circulating, decreases. And it sometimes takes about a minute to build back up. So your chance of what we call return of spontaneous circulations decreases because of those hands coming off. So having a device that does perfect CPR, continuous, never gets tired, has really been the optimal solution to good CPR.
It takes 1 to 2 good minutes of CPR to build up the appropriate pressure in the chest where blood will circulate and then in return circulate oxygen to the vital organs, including the brain. As mentioned, if you stop, it's like a cliff. That pressure is gone. So if you switch or get tired or you're getting tired and not doing the appropriate depth, it takes another person coming in another minute to get to that pressure. The American Heart Association, once an airway is established, this device allows for continuous CPR. So once we have the patient intubated, they would just push the other button and it will allow for continuous CPR.
Very hard to do good CPR going down flight steps, because you need, 2 hands and you're trying to get down the steps, or even when they're loading into the back of the vehicle. So this takes care of all those obstacles, because again, it's right there.
going down a bumpy highway?
Yes.
What are the, you said, Chief, that there's an estimated $1,000, $1,100 annually in disposable patient care supplies. Is that, what would that be? I don't see anything.
That's the,
Suction
that's suction cup.
Meaning you have to change that every patient, every use?
That was my understanding, so I guess we can clarify that.
Yes,
Because of compression or because of sanitary?
The operator's manual, just, contamination.
Okay.
The owner's manual recommends replacing after every use.
Okay.
So that's put directly on the body?
Yes,
it's
just,
okay.
right, so it'd be directly.
So based on our average
So
number of
should they-
cardiac arrests,
It's
you
not something to
projected.
be sanitized.
Throw
or-
up.
10 years.
I will tell you, I have departments that I know are sanitizing and reusing. What I can tell you is the letter of the law from corporate says reusable.
Is that the same thing with the straps and all of that on there, or are those?
This, should it, if somebody was a trauma and there was a lot of blood or someone was throwing up or something and you could not clean that, then you could replace this. But that would really.
And that's actually pretty standard for us. So the cardiac monitors, our innovation equipment, all of that falls into 1 or 2 categories. The crews are very comfortable with that. Either it's something that is sanitizing or reusable, or is patient disposable. And so we did the same thing when we were doing the long-term cost evaluation of this. Is based off of the manufacturer's recommendations, the suction cup will be disposable per patient. The rest of the device will be sanitized after each use according to our standard. They have a solution that they use and a way to clean all of that based off of that usage.
Is there a cycle or a per use or a stroke meter on there that tells us how many times we've used it?
No.
So when do we know then that we have hit 200 uses on the battery?
Well, we track the usage ourselves. As a matter of fact,
Okay.
One of the long-term things that we're doing statistically is our own mini study for cardiac arrest. So information on all of our pre-Lucas, we'll be tracking post to see if there's any clinical outcome difference for
Okay.
us.
So-
Along with that, we'll be able to tell each device and how many times it's
The question is related if the battery has to be or should be replaced every 200 uses and you're using it for training and for community awareness demonstrations and for actual cardiac arrests.
Typically, we're seeing 2 to 3 years of use.
Okay, so,
Or the number of uses.
right, I guess my point is you don't want to have it run out when you need it. So if there's no meter to tell you that, then you have to track all of your, not just your cardiac arrests, obviously, but all your training and your,
It's supposed to be tracked each time it is used, not just
Okay.
clinically, but each time
Okay.
it's used, period.
But you said it's software based inside. Wouldn't there be some way to work
to check
that,
the number of
work
uses
that
of
into
the
your
battery.
software that's in the,
I don't know, perhaps, I honestly, in all the years,
if you
never
do
had
that, can we
had
get
that
royalties
come up
on
or
it?
be an issue or a
Okay.
concern, so I apologize, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, my
Typically, we
guidance
recommend
is-
2 to 3 years use on the battery.
How much, is it Mike that would be servicing these, or is
Yes.
that a different thing?
So you currently have physio control, life pack monitor, defibrillators. Mygoni is your service tech for those. He will also do the service technician for this.
Okay. And in your purchase request, you've built into that enough batteries to be able to have your cycle?
The purchase request doesn't have enough batteries. The purchase request has the initial, and then in 3 years, we'll come back for the next set of batteries, or what the use requires.
Okay, so,
We calculated the cost, but it's not built into the
Okay.
initial purchase.
so
But
you're,
each one comes with 2 batteries.
Yes, ma'am.
you're recharging the system on the vehicle, is that correct? So the
Or a
batteries,
standalone charger.
so the batteries technically don't leave the unit?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
the charger will be located on.
Okay.
Well, they will leave the unit when they take the person into the hospital.
The
then you
battery,
have to
no, the
take-
batteries don't leave the
The
unit.
charging unit will
Oh, they stay in there, yeah.
This is always inside the case, so if they wanted to plug it in to
They
the
could.
hospital outlet or in the
Okay.
patient's home or.
And all of our units are Lucas too, correct?
Yes.
One thing I'd like to point out is Xenia has seen a significant increase in response to circulation, and they're currently doing a study to see whether it's been because of the Lucas or some of the other advanced things that Xenia may be doing in EMS. But the only thing that I think has changed, the drugs that are given during a cardiac arrest hasn't changed in 10 years. Amount of dosage and so on has changed, but the drugs themselves hasn't changed. The only thing that has changed for Xenia, according to Xenia Fire Department, is the Lucas. So they're going through a very comprehensive, as the chief mentioned, we're gonna record that statistic before and after the Lucas as well.
I know Huber Heights also has found statistically significant improvement of return of spontaneous circulation using Lucas versus manual CPR.
Okay.
And obviously for us, this is, within the fire service, we respond to a lot of emergencies. There's a few situations where we have a very direct impact on survivability of a patient. Trauma is one, structure fire with a person trapped is one, cardiac arrest is one. And so this is one of those chances where we can up our percentage of efficiency, effectiveness probably is a better term, for those most critical care calls, as opposed to a lot of the, what we consider the bread and butter, where it's a regular transport or an illness or something like that, where the time is not a critical factor. This is one of those times when it really is. So we think it's a good use of our resources to be able to put into something that will increase our effectiveness in those most critical cases.
Have you looked at statistically, you say we have an average of 36 cardiac arrests a year.
And increasing for what it's worth.
What?
And that is slowly increasing.
That's my
along with our
question.
calls for
As the
services.
population is increasing and the population is aging,
Right
do you
now,
see?
the increase is generally correlated to the increase in number of calls, so the percentage of cardiac arrests to our total call volume. But yeah, as our population age changes, we usually see that increases at a quicker pace.
we all want to be protected here.
Board, just if we're ready to move forward, the purchase request in your packet is wrong, so I've updated one that I handed to Mr. Roberts.
Okay.
Any other
So,
discussion?
no, you have any further discussion, Mr. Chris?
So, I will make a motion to approve the following purchase request number 8064 to Physio Control for 4 Lucas 2 chest compression devices in the amount of $52,592 and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Just to clarify, the purchase request number changed from what, it's even,
Correct.
you have a new request number as well.
Yeah, the purchase
Okay.
request that we have here matches with what
Okay.
Mr. Roberts just passed.
Yeah,
Second.
but
The one in the package.
The amount is the same, but,
Yeah.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Graf?
yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When do they come in?
Interestingly enough, our corporate headquarters is in Redmond, Washington, outside of Seattle. But a few years ago, they put a
Microsoft.
shipping depot in Louisville, Kentucky area, because it's such a long So usually they come within a week or two. So pretty much as
Thank
soon
you.
as I get an order.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Firefighter Ferguson. for all the work.
Thank you.
Thank you, firefighter.
He's getting used to carrying it. He wants to make sure he's right with it.
Too many backpacks.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 76 is the Fire Department's biweekly report. Are there any questions?
I had none.
Thank
The
you, Board.
The youngsters you're taking through, they had 2 tours. I've enjoyed it as much as the ones that I've worked with and taken through the stations.
As far as I know, yes. So everybody seems to enjoy those.
They didn't leave crying.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Or
It's always a
screaming.
possibility depending on.
Don't show them that.
Yeah, don't show 'em that.
Don't pull the Lucas out.
I really lost a grandson there a number of years ago. He was ready to just stay and not come home.
And that's not uncommon either. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. That's all I have.
Okay, legal advisor,
Nothing at this time.
okay. Trustees,
I had just one thing to, and actually, it was evidenced again today, in that a little over a year ago, we were hiring Mr. Zaharieff as a township administrator and a public safety director. And I think that the community has benefited. If you listen to the discussion we had today and the added value that Mr. Zaharieff's firefighter and EMS background brings to the table, I think the township is getting a very good value for what it's paying. So I wanted to point that out.
I agree.
I would agree.
Thank you, Board.
Absolutely. Not that our chief couldn't tell us, but it's,
No, but to have that added
Exactly.
at the administrator level.
understands what's
Right.
going on and why.
Understand in great detail.
Fiscal officer,
Nothing, thank you.
okay.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session under Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G1, to consider the employment, dismissal, discipline, and compensation of a public employee. Under Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G5, matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or regulations or state statutes. Under Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G4, preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. And 121.22G3, conferences with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject of pending or imminent court action.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Graff?
I have a motion to come out of executive session at 4:07.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those, aye.
Aye, aye,
Aye,
aye.
aye.